Well, hey, Carlos David, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So this is Carlos David. Carlos David, you have been a part of the Houston Vineyard since the late 90s, essentially. And
That's
before
correct. That's true.
you were pastoring La Viña that met where A Second Cup is now.
That's true. That's where we started.
Yeah. And you've been involved in Colombia and Mexico for that amount of time, like forever.
Ever since, yes. We started the church, and 2 weeks after we started the church, we did our first mission trip. We've been at it. We've been very missional from the beginning.
And you show up all the time everywhere, which I love.
That's true.
You just never know. You never quite know where Carlos David is, because he could be in Colombia, he could be in Mexico, he could be who knows where, Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is the Houston Vineyard has been in partnership with the vineyards in Colombia and Mexico now for over 20 years. And you've been a part of that from the beginning, essentially.
It is very true. One of the things that I've always said is that I gave Michael Palandro many of the white hairs that he has, because I would sneak out. I had travel privileges with United Airlines for many, many years. So I could just leave on Friday and come back on Sunday. And many times he didn't even know I was out of the country.
Yeah.
That's just between us. Don't tell anybody.
Well, we won't tell anybody.
But we did that for I did that for many years. So I was able to go to all over Latin America. And so we have been, the Houston Vineyard, that's how I met you, as a matter of fact, in a conference I think it was in Mexicali.
Mexicali, it was.
It was
many years ago. Yeah.
Many years ago. So this is a wonderful opportunity that the Houston Vineyard has had, that we've been able to, spread and extend the kingdom to many places in Latin America. And so it's been an awesome privilege to be able to do so.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have this rich heritage of partnership, and especially in times like this, where the whole world is suffering differently, but at the same time.
That is true, Josh. It's one of the best things about what we're doing right now is being able to FaceTime and Skype and do all these conferences. And I talk to the pastors in Mexico and in Colombia on a weekly basis. I talk to them. We laugh together. We cry together. Get to hear what they're doing and what God is up to in their lives. And I thank you for such an opportunity that we still have, because they consider the Houston Vineyard kind of like the mother church.
Yeah. And you're sort of like a father figure for so many people in Mexico and Colombia. And for us, we love that you represent the heart of our church to those nations and the pastors that are leading there. Now, as you're talking to them, what are you seeing? So, I know that Colombia is on a lockdown that is much more restricted than in Mexico. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, much so. I got off the phone yesterday with Victor Ibagon. He's the pastor of the Vineyard in Bogota. And he was telling me, what he has to do just to go out to the grocery store. In Colombia, throughout the country, you can only go out according to the last two numbers of your ID, your national ID. And men can go out one day, women can go out a different day. In his particular case, yesterday he went to the store. He was the only one allowed in his family. Only one member per family can be out in the streets in Bogota. It's very restricted. Same thing in Medellin, where we work with Javier and his family. The unique thing about Javier is that his church in El Popular, he lives among the people that he serves. So it is a lot harder, because he sees the need right there in his neighbors. So they're delivering groceries, but he also has to wait. Like yesterday, Monday, as a matter of fact, was the day that he could go out. So he went to the bank. He was able to get money, and there is a small little store in the neighborhood that they have partnered with. And with the monies that they have, they're able to buy food wholesale and then deliver the groceries. So,
and that's sort of like a thing that is happening, especially in the larger churches in Mexico. And,
that's true.
and it really is, people are starting to become churches are becoming feeding centers because the economic fallout in this for these smaller rural churches is pretty drastic.
Yes. Yesterday, when I talked to Walter Gonzalez, he is the leader of the partnership. Actually, more than it's the Association of Vineyard Churches in Mexico now. I used to talk about it, but now it's a new thing. He is the coordinator of the partnership. Of the association, I'm sorry, and he was telling me about the key churches in Mexico, Vereda in Mexico City, his church in Fresnillo, Sergio's church in Mazatlan, the church also in Nogales with Greg and Naomi. They are doing same thing. They are serving the community, doing groceries, delivering and trying to care for those in the church that have the greatest need.
And I know, like with Walter, for example, I mean, they're giving in their church, and we always struggle to talk about these things, but the reality is it's dropped 80%.
It's true.
And so they're still trying to position themselves with what is coming into generosity to those that have nothing, even though as a church, they are operating at a much lower income than they typically would, 80% less.
That's what he told me. I mean, this is just between us. It's 80. Yeah. The finances have dropped 80%, and that is because people are used to coming, to the building, and so.
And there's things that we take for granted, like online giving, and also in a place like Zacatecas, most of the work is not essential, and it's not work from home capable. So people are having to readjust sort of their whole living expectations based on a brand new economy for them.
That is very true, Josh. And one of the best things is that even though we have not asked anyone, and none of these pastors have asked me for money, I see the generosity of our people. And because we have made such connections and networking, I hear friends that have called me, I've told you, of monies that they have donated so that we can send to Mexico, to Colombia, to even Costa Rica, because we also have. So we will continue to do so, and I'm glad that is really the heart of you anyway. I think that every time I've come to you and asked you, hey, we got this need, so far you've never said no. So.
Well, what I love about the Houston Vineyard and specifically the position we find ourselves in is we are able to position ourselves for generosity. And so, and part of, I think, the work of the partnerships in Colombia and Mexico that has been so successful is that we have not created a dependency on financial dependency. What we've created is an interdependency of relationship. So we have invested as a community, you personally, I know, have invested in the lives of leaders to point them to Jesus as the source, not to us as the source. And as a result, when we are positioned for generosity, it goes and it spreads and it goes way farther than we could ever imagine, because they are doing the work internally in their countries and their contexts to also position themselves for generosity.
And that's true. That's true. Kingdom extension in what we have learned and what we have been preaching and what we tell people is that Jesus is really the source from which we all can gain all that we have and all that we need. And so when people give, we try to do it in a way that nobody finds out where it came from. That way, it just becomes something that was flowing out of the heart of those leaders in the nation, because we want to support the nationals. We are there to serve. And so we want to do it in a very discreet but passionate way, so that what they see is the heart of Jesus.
Yeah, and I mean, for us as the Houston Vineyard, if you guys are looking, how can we participate? I think the first thing is to pray. And what I love about this, you were telling me that as the message that you're getting from people is for prayer. It's not for financials, even though the reality is the financial situation is bleak at best. And what they're asking for is prayer, not finances.
So
And what are some of those prayers? So if we start and we say, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm in Houston, I'm in the United States, I'm wherever I am, wherever I find myself, what are the things I can be praying for specifically, whether it's Colombia or Mexico, that they've been asking us to pray for?
I'm reading the list here because I have it in front of me, and they want to have not just an opportunity, but greater boldness to bring the gospel to those around them. They are also asking that during this crisis, they are able to talk to people they have never even talked to, like their neighbors, and they're praying for them. So more than anything else is, I hear it's over, same everybody's boldness to be able to bring the gospel and to show the love of God. When they were telling me that they were receiving 100 bags of groceries from the government, they said, and we're not just going to give them to our members of our church, but we want to give them to the neighbors so that we can show them the love of the Lord. So it's just extending the kingdom and praying for miracles and healings. That's what
really essentially the prayer is, God, don't allow us to miss the opportunities that exist.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Every single one of them, and that they would have greater opportunities to be able to find ways to coordinate with others. Some of them are meeting with other pastors in their neighborhoods to be able to centralize some of the assistance, so better relations. And it's all through the same way that you and I are doing it today.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to meet in person, but they're doing it through video and phone calls.
I think one of the gifts of this season is also, typically when we think of missions, we think of jumping on a plane and going down and having an experience, and that's all well and good. But right now, that's not even possible. Colombia, for example, there's no flights in unless it's like necessary medical or food sort of deliveries. You can't, even if I wanted to, I couldn't fly. So it puts me in a position to really position myself, first of all, to pray. And then second of all, as I think about what it looks like to be missionally minded towards a place foreign from my own or different from my own, is to position myself even financially for generosity.
That's true. The only person in the only pastor here that asks for a prayer request different than that is for his daughter to be able to return home. The pastor of our church in Medellin went on a missions trip to Peru to visit the church in Arequipa. She's still there. There are no flights. The borders are closed, so she can't come back. She's been there over almost 2 months now.
Yeah. And
we don't know when she's going to return. So, of course, she wants to come home, and that's been our prayer, that the Lord would open the way, open doors for her to come home. But that's the only one. Everything else, it's all about opportunities to bring the love of the Lord.
Now, I'll let people know, like, if you want to invest in what the churches in Colombia and Mexico are doing, we have partnerships, we have designated giving for that, or on our HoustonVineyard.org website, you can go to the giving, and you can even put it in the COVID-19 funds and just earmark Colombia, Mexico, and we'll make sure that gets to the churches that are serving the needs of people. But Carlos David, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, is they get a passion and they want to pray, they want to be connected, what's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you?
Oh, they can call me. I'll give you my number. 713.
All right, we'll put it. Well, go ahead, give it.
713-825-2114. I also have a an email on that I opened because of this, and it's called vinasdelmundo @gmail.com.
Okay, we'll make sure that stuff is in the comments or in the description of the video. But as we're closing out here, I have a question for you.
Yes.
In all of this, because you're experiencing the uniqueness of this, is that everybody around the world is experiencing this, but it's the same thing experienced differently. as you look at what God's doing in your own life, but also look at what's happening in our partners in Colombia and Mexico, what is the thing that gives you the most hope looking forward?
You know, one of the things that I've been looking through God's word is that every time there are situations like this, is when the church, for some reason, God uses the situations that look bleak to bring a greater anointing, a greater opportunity for us. And so, although I feel confined in my home, and in May, we should be investing somewhere, traveling somewhere, stuck in an airport somewhere. I just, I bless those that right now are listening and watching and saying, Lord, how can I have a greater fire in my belly to bring the goodness of who you are in the midst of what is happening, to make someone's life know that it counts, and that this is important, and that no matter what is going out there, is happening out there, he's still on the throne. Yeah. And this has not caught God by surprise. And so I trust that he's in control. And I think that it's the best time right now to bring God's love to everyone around us.
Yeah, I do too. Well, listen, first of all, I want to thank you, because you are a blessing to the Houston Vineyard, like enormous blessing. But the legacy that you leave everywhere you go is one of great joy that points people to Jesus. It's really hard not to love Jesus more after spending time with you. And so I am really grateful that we are friends. I'm really grateful that we get to work together for the kingdom. And
ever since I met you, my brother, ever since I met you, it was over a wonderful seafood meal, I remember. And the meal.
We shouldn't have been eating seafood so far from the ocean, but regardless. But I also really appreciate, and I'm really grateful of how well you not only represent the kingdom, but also the Houston Vineyard with our partners in Colombia and Mexico. So you are amazing. I love you, man. And thank you for this.
Un abrazo.
Un abrazo.
Big hug for you. Take care.
All right. Bye.